Hoffman insists on keeping the child in us alive until we die. Without the imagination, we can be instrumentalized and exploited. Professor Jack Zipes from the University of Minnesota, 2007. Hello everyone, this is the Ballet Libretto. In this series, you are invited to come with me to explore the stories behind the world's most beloved ballets. This program is not only for ballet fans around the world, but also for people who love a good story. The ballet art form has a history that spans over 400 years, and at times it was political, but always evolving, always complex, and at the center of it, ballet was and still is about the human experience. Today we are going to continue the countdown of the top 10 most popular ballets in the world. Ranked at number 6 is the Nutcracker. The story behind the Nutcracker is a story that spans approximately 140 years, starting in 1816, when the story that the libretto is based on was published, to 1954, when choreographer George Balanchine decided to create his own version for the New York City Ballet, a ballet company he co-founded. So with this episode, we are going to keep the biographies as short as possible to keep our focus on the story. The ballet was based on the story Nutcracker and the Mouse King by the Romantic writer E.T.A. Hoffman. As I mentioned in the episode about La Sylphide, the Romantic period was a reaction to the previous period known as the Age of Enlightenment and the Age of Reason. During the Age of Reason, the intellect was glorified. During the Romantic age, however, writers and philosophers believed that the imagination, not the intellect, was the most important aspect of the human mind. E.T.A. Hoffman was a man of his time. Born in the Kingdom of Prussia shortly before the Romantic period started, he studied law, worked in the Prussian civil service, and he started writing professionally when he was in his 30s. And he passed away in 1822. During the 1800s, Hoffman became one of the most influential writers in Europe. As I mentioned in the episode about Coppelia, he wrote a fantasy horror story, The Sandman, which the Coppelia Ballet was loosely based on. Hoffman's story begins on Christmas Eve at the Stahlbaum house. Marie and her older brother Fritz sit outside the parlor speculating about what kind of present their godfather Drosselmeyer, who is a clockmaker and inventor, has made for them. They are at last allowed in, where they receive many splendid gifts, including Drosselmeyer's. Marie notices a Nutcracker and asks to whom he belongs. Her father tells her that he belongs to all of them, but that since she is so fond of him, she will be his special caretaker. She, Fritz, and their older sister Louise pass him amongst themselves, cracking nuts until Fritz tries to crack one that is too big and hard, and the Nutcracker's jaw breaks. Marie is upset and takes him away to bandage him up. When it is time for bed, the children put their Christmas gifts away in a special toy cabinet. Fritz and Louise go up to bed, but Marie stays with the Nutcracker. She puts him to bed and tells him that Drosselmeyer will fix his jaw. At this, his face seems momentarily to come alive, and Marie is frightened, but she then decides it was only her imagination. The grandfather clock begins to chime, and Marie believes she sees Drosselmeyer sitting on top of it, preventing it from striking. Mice begin to come out from beneath the floorboards, including the 7-headed Mouse King. The dolls in the toy cabinet come alive and begin to move. The Nutcracker takes command and leads them into battle against the Mouse King. The battle goes to the dolls at first, but they are eventually overwhelmed by the mice. Marie, seeing the Nutcracker about to be taken prisoner, takes off her slipper and throws it at the Mouse King. She then faints into the toy cabinet's glass door, cutting her arm. Marie wakes up in her bed the next morning with her arm bandaged and tries to tell her parents about the battle between the mice and the dolls. But they don't believe her, thinking it was just a dream. Several days later, Drosselmeyer arrives with the Nutcracker, whose jaw has been fixed, and tells Marie the story of Princess Pirlipat and Madame Mouserings, who is also known as the Queen of the Mice, which explains how Nutcrackers came to be and why they look the way they do. Marie, while she recuperates from her wound, hears the Mouse King, son of Madame Mouserings, whispering to her in the middle of the night, threatening to bite the Nutcracker to pieces unless she gives him sweets and dolls. For the Nutcracker's sake, she gives them to him, but then he wants more. The Nutcracker tells her that if she gets him a sword, he will defeat the Mouse King. She asks Fritz for one. The next night, the Nutcracker comes into Marie's room bearing the Mouse King's 7 crowns, and takes her away with him to the Kingdom of Dolls, where she sees many wonderful things. She eventually falls asleep in the Nutcracker's palace, and is brought back home. She tries to tell her mother what happened, but again she is not believed, even when she shows her parents the 7 crowns. She is forbidden to speak of her dreams anymore. Marie sits in front of the toy cabinet one day while Drosselmeyer is repairing one of her father's clocks. While looking at the Nutcracker and thinking about all the wondrous things that happened, she learns that the Nutcracker is Drosselmeyer's nephew, who was under a spell placed by Madame Mouserings, and he is also king of the Kingdom of Dolls. The story ends when the Nutcracker proposes to her, which led to breaking the spell. She accepts, and in a year and a day, he comes for her and takes her away to the Kingdom of Dolls, where she marries him and is crowned queen. In 1845, Alexandre Dumas, the French writer who is famous for writing The Three Musketeers and The Count of Monte Cristo, decided to write a new version of Hoffmann's story called The Tale of the Nutcracker. Hoffmann's story was dark and spooky. However, Dumas's version was light and sweet. In Dumas's version, Marie becomes Clara, and the Kingdom of the Dolls became the Land of Sweets. In 1890, Maurice Petipa, the French-born ballet master at the Imperial Ballet Theatre in St. Petersburg, Russia, and Russian composer Tchaikovsky collaborated on the Sleeping Beauty ballet. It was a success. The following year, artistic director to the Imperial Ballet, Ivan Sevolovsky, asked Tchaikovsky to compose a double bill consisting of the Nutcracker, based on Dumas's version, and the opera Iolanta. Petipa not only co-wrote the libretto with Sevolovsky, he also gave Tchaikovsky detailed instructions on composing the music, including how many measures he needed for certain dances. Tchaikovsky didn't like Dumas's version of the story, and much preferred Hoffmann's story, and he also didn't like Petipa's choreography for the ballet either. At the time Tchaikovsky composed the music to the Nutcracker, a few events took place. He took a trip to New York to perform at the new Carnegie Hall. He composed part of the Nutcracker score in Rouen, France, and unfortunately his beloved sister Alexandra passed away, which left him under a lot of grief and stress. During rehearsals, Petipa got sick and had to drop out of the project, leaving his assistant choreographer Lev Ivanov to finish the choreography. His major contribution to the ballet was the snowflake sequence and the Grand Pas de Deux. The ballet premiered on December 17, 1892, and received mixed reviews. Many critics loved Tchaikovsky's music, however, they thought it was too childish for adults, with no clear connection between the first and second acts. Because the Nutcracker ballet was not a success, it wasn't very popular for the next 20, 30 years. And so the question becomes, how did the Nutcracker become probably the most popular ballet of all time? Well, it happened years later, starting in 1944, when the Nutcracker ballet was first premiered in the United States. The ballet's first complete American performance was on December 24th in 1944 by the San Francisco Ballet, staged by its artistic director at that time, William Christensen. It starred Gisela Cacialanza as the Sugar Plum Fairy and Jocelyn Volmar as the Snow Queen. It was an enormous success. The San Francisco Ballet presented the Nutcracker every Christmas Eve throughout the winter season, debuting new productions in 1944, 1954, 1967, and 2004. The original Christensen version continues in Salt Lake City, where Christensen relocated in 1948. Christensen had been in touch with the Russian choreographer George Balanchine, who had advised him to stage the entire ballet in his original way. Balanchine followed suit in 1954, and since that time, not a winter season goes by when the Nutcracker is not performed throughout the United States and other countries in various formats. The 1954 version at the New York City Ballet was stripped of all the dark elements of the ballet, and it was his version of the ballet that made the Nutcracker an American Christmas tradition. However, we can even go further with this story. In the 1980s, the Pacific Northwest Ballet wanted to return to Hoffman's original version. They turned to illustrator and writer Maurice Sendak, author of Where the Wild Things Are. According to Jack Zipes, retired professor of German studies at the University of Minnesota, Sendak's version of the Nutcracker with his sets and libretto is the only version that captures Hoffman's original spirit. Zipes also wrote the introduction to Penguin Classics' The Nutcracker, in which Hoffman's and Dumas's versions are published together. Zipes explains Hoffman's goals as a writer. The story is not about the Nutcracker and the Mouse King. Rather, it is about the curious child Marie and the ambivalent, somewhat threatening figure of Drosselmeyer, the mysterious artist and teacher. Hoffman positions Marie as the learner who grasps that she must use her imagination to see the world as it really is. Drosselmeyer provides the spark for her imagination. NPR also wrote an article 9 years ago about the dark romantic roots of the Nutcracker story. Zipes further explains, Hoffman was a towering figure for decades after his death in 1822, but that fame had faded by the end of the 19th century. Even today, most American intellectuals, American professors of literature, have not read Hoffman, and it's a shame, because they're very relevant to our own society today, where the imagination, in my opinion, is being deteriorated throughout our country. The Nutcracker Ballet is so famous that for major American ballet companies, they generate 40% of their annual ticket revenues from the performances of the Nutcracker. As a matter of fact, the Christmas season in ballet is known as the Nutcracker season. Well, I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. The Nutcracker is my favorite ballet, and Tchaikovsky is one of my favorite classical composers. I am doing this series in celebration of a new ballet that will premiere in New York City in April 2022 titled The Prince of Barykova. The Prince of Barykova is a romantic ballet that will be danced to rock music instead of classical music. It tells the story of a prince who takes a trip around the world during the season of Lent looking for his soulmate. If you would like to make a donation towards the production of the ballet, the Kickstarter campaign will begin on October 17th, 2021, where you can donate as little as $5. If you would like to purchase the Ballet Libretto, my book, The Journal of a Ballet Librettist, will be available on Amazon Monday, November 15th, 2021. Also, I am running a contest that started at the beginning of the Ballet Libretto season. If you are the first person to correctly guess what is number 1 on this countdown, you will win 2 free tickets to see The Prince of Barykova in New York City. You will find the answer during the last episode of the series, which will be posted on Sunday, November 21st, 2021. To enter into the contest, email your answer at nightglowonline@gmail.com with the subject Ballet Contest. Thank you to my subscribers, and if you are new to this channel, go ahead and click the subscribe button below. Click like and share. Thanks for watching, and see you next time on the Nightglow Entertainment channel right here on YouTube.